And we're live. We're
Whoa,
live.
cool.
Breathe, breathe, man, breathe, breathe. Calm down, breathe. Okay, so
Yeah,
let me just take a very quick look because I just want to make sure that everything is fine. We're gonna wait for some people to join so that we can
join, yeah,
see,
sure.
yeah, if they can, hear us good, if everything is fine.
Yep.
If your family is watching from home, tell us if the sound is okay.
Yeah,
Mom, Dad, can you hear us? Mike Dugenio is already online. Hi, Mike, how's it going?
well,
Can you hear us good? Is the volume okay?
hey, Mike.
Mohit, say something. Sounds
Hello.
good. Okay, the sound is great. Christopher is also online. Okay, great. We already have like 15 people watching. Hey, Pedro, how's it going?
Nice.
So more people will join for sure later.
Yeah,
Gulshan, hi Gulshan. I think this is the first time that I see you on this channel. Hi Camilo, how are you? Welcome to everybody who is new. Since today, I think we reached something like 10 or 20 new followers. So for anyone who is
nice.
new, yeah, it's very good. It's because you are very influential. So basically, hi Kirill, how are you? So basically on this channel, what I try to do with these interviews, I see the career of people as one of those, games where you have the dots and you kind of have to, fill the spaces between the dots and then something comes out. Now, very often the problem is that there are no guidance on how to connect those dots. So by talking to people, I try to create a narrative that people can actually follow. Because ArchViz is a beautiful job, but you need to, at one point, get into the right direction and you need to start working your way through certain goals, certain, you have to achieve certain things, you have to fulfill your ambitions. And one of the biggest topic that I always get asked about is India, upcoming markets, third world economies, people that struggle because of geographical circumstances, political circumstances. And I'm with you, Mohit, which you are one of the, first of all, one of the coolest and best artists that I personally know. And I'm talking on the in the specific as artist, I love your work. I've always been very impressed with the fact that you're so young. And you were doing all this work already, like I've been following you, I think, for the past 2 or 3 years.
3 years, yes.
And you're very talented. When did you start doing 3D?
Actually, I started in the year of 2013. So at that time, I didn't know anything much about ArchViz industry. Actually, I was very much influenced by the graphics from the movies. So the most inspirational graphical movie was the Transformers. I think you have seen that. Yeah.
Of course.
So that movie was influenced so in me that I started loving graphics so much. Then I started learning, like looking out, doing research on what are the applications were used, what are the third applications were used, how did the whole graphics, lighting, everything was done. Then I started learning Maya. It was not like straight shot to Max. So I started learning Maya. Then at one point, and at the educational wise, I was doing civil architecture. So at one point, after like 6 months, I did 3ds Max, not Max, Maya. So at that point, what I was thinking is that I have done civil architecture and why am I heading to movies? So at that point, I wanted to reutilize my education into something like an ArchViz. At that time, I realized that ArchViz industry was like growing very well, because at that time, I think the day I started was like max 2012 or something at that time. Then I was like looking out tutorials, like there were many tutorials like Viz Corbel and YouTube, but obviously there were not that many tutorials. But yeah, I think at that time Viscobel was pretty much very nice. I felt like they had very good stuff. So at that time I slowly started learning, and I used to like come from back from college, practice, and then it just, from the day, I think exactly from 2013, I totally moved into archivist industry. But yeah, at one point it was like I was like very frustrated with this field because I was not able to generate that quality of images what I was looking for. But like at that time, you won't believe, I didn't touch my computer for almost 1 month. Like I just gave up. And then at one point, at the next point, what happened was that, how can I give up like this? Like I have done something, and I have like struggled for so long time, like for 1 year I had spent, and I just can't give up so easily. Then I started like struggling, doing things same every day, practice, and then it just brought you the whole way.
Whilst you're speaking, I'm showing some of your work to the people watching from home. Also, Gulshan, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I should have remembered you, of course. I was showing some of your work. Now, one of the things that really gets to me of the work that you produce is that you have a sensibility that not many artists have. Like, I really like the way you work with light. I really like the way you work with mood, color palettes, and very often this is not the type of visualizations that we usually see coming from countries like India, you know?
Yeah.
You're very balanced in your work. Where did you learn all this stuff?
Actually, I like my dad is an artist, like he's a painter. So at that point, I have some influence of having the color palette and the mood of me, because my dad is he's an artist. So he taught me how the color palettes work, how the mood of the images. Like he used to do painting, so he used to like try to influence the mood into it. So I used to look all of his work, and that is how I got influenced of those type of color palettes, the mood, the realism into my work. So it's like genetics, I would say.
Okay, but this is cool to know, because you can totally recognize it. I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
Where do you get your inspiration from?
Like most of my inspirations come from like Pinterest and some like going through Shutterstock. I mean, yeah. So there, I always get influenced by the like moody, foggy, like how the color works in the like the dawn or the morning. So though the color, how the sunlight interacts with the architecture, that is what inspires me.
So basically, you really like, you're focused on the visual part, and you go and look for inputs in order for you to make your own art.
Exactly.
Okay, that's very good, because sometimes people
helps me a very lot. Yeah.
Good to know. Now, the reason why I also wanted to talk to you, it's a little bit to understand your story and your path. One of the biggest issues for artists working and living in India is to get a chance to come to Europe and work for some of the best companies. In a way, you have done this. Can you tell me a little bit about how you made it happen? What were the problems? What were the issues that you had to overcome? And how did this happen?
So as I told you before, that by 2013, like I started doing all this stuff, and by 2014 I started doing some freelancing stuff, like not that great quality. Like there was some architects from like northern of India, then some south of India. So then I was like always getting inspired by, like, we have Facebook social network. Like I used to see many artists having so very good work, very good light, very good feel, very good quality of materials, shaders, and those things influenced me a lot. And over time, and those things helped me very well to go forward. But at one point I was static, like the mood of the images, those feel of the images. And then I think you might have heard about the Target company. It's a retail company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have the Target company in India, like in the Bangalore where I stay. So that company hired me. Like they wanted to move from photography to whole CGI. They were mostly into like product visualization. There we had one good artist by name Gustavo, like he's from Brazil. So
I
from
think I
him
know
I
who you
learned.
mean.
Yeah, so so he joined our company. So I like improved little bit of most of my work from him. Like he helped me out how to like recognize the images, how the quality you can take it to whole new level, and those stuff. And I think this was in the year 2016, and then I resigned the company because it was mostly into product visualization. So I was like most towards like architectural field. Then I think in the time of October, I met Santi Sanchez. Yeah, and then
You are
I
one of
took
his
his
students, right?
yeah. So I took his this Corona training at that time, and he taught me a lot of principles over the composition and lighting. And then at the end of the course, I wanted to look for the opportunity outside India. And then I started applying for companies, and I didn't have any openings at that time. Then I just found this tomorrow challenge. Then I just like thought, let me try. First, I was not about to like participate. After 1 week, let me try. If I have a luck, I would just make it. Then I just did this Thames and Guard Museum, and I was not that confident. But then I showed these images to Santi Sanchez, and you were like, "Man, you have 100% of chances of winning. Why don't you just go ahead?" And I just applied, and then I got the mail from Andreas, like he's the CEO of Tomorrow, and he told me like, Mohit, you have been selected in like top two. Whoa! And I was like shocked. And then the whole procedure took place, and then yeah, it was a like pretty great journey from nowhere to whole of Europe. And when I went to Stockholm, and it was like totally different experience. Like I have never been outside of India, and then you suddenly go to Stockholm, and it's like, yeah, it was like amazing journey, I would say.
Yeah, I remember the first days that you were in Sweden and you looked like, it was weird to see you in the snow.
Yeah. And even at that time I was like super fat because as I left the Target, I was started doing freelancing because I wanted to do more of architectural stuff. And then what happened was that there was, I think you might have heard that there was a demonetization in India.
No.
Yeah, like when I left Target during the time of November, there was a demonetization in India. Like all the currencies were changed. So what happened?
Okay.
The whole economy went down in whole of India. So that like crushed the lot of construction market, which internally from back it crunched the architectural market, which directly crunched us. So that most of the companies and architectural studios, like they were like financially going down. So then even I was like financially going down, then I was like looking very hard for going for a best opportunity outside of India. So that is how it whole happened.
This is I had no idea, to be honest with you, and it's so you found really yourself at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I just utilized the right opportunity at the right time, I would say.
Because of course it's very important that we push a little bit on this. You are very talented. The work that you do is extremely good in comparison to the work of a lot of people that they think that they're good, but there is always something missing a little bit. And even in the sketches that you do, I can see that you think a lot about lighting, composition, and all that kind of stuff. So, yes, you found yourself at the right place at the right time, but when you found yourself, you had very big guns with you. And it was very, you were very like armed, you know, and you went for it, and then you got the job. Okay, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit,
Yes.
was it difficult for you to get all the documents? What were the biggest issues that you had to face? Because obviously there are like passport issues, visa, sponsoring, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think the issue with me was the passport, because what happened was that I had a passport prior, but when I had applied for the European visa, they were asking me passport of the present address because I had changed my house from the different location. So at that time, whole of my passport process was like so prolonged that I was like freaking out. Like I wouldn't sleep for a couple of days together. Like, what is going on? I want to get out of India. And like almost you won't believe, like for 4 days, I just slept for 2 hours. And then it was like, man, what is going on? And then I called up the passport office, like the main branch, and then what's going on? And then I went to that place and got a little bit of influenced inside, and then got my whole work done. And then after that, it went super fast. Then I think I didn't have any problem with the visa issue. And then even coming from here and there, it was pretty smooth, I would say. But only, yeah, at just one point I had the problem of the currency conversion, because as a couple of months back we had demonetization, so not all the countries were accepting our currency. So as I reached Stockholm, like then I had some backup amount, so that was like good for me. But if I didn't have that backup amount, I would have been screwed, I would say. But yeah, obviously company was there to help me out, but still it was a great thing. Like I wanted to see how can I push myself.
This is incredible. So tell me one thing. Why is it that sometimes Indian artists, they have an issue getting the papers to come to Europe and work in 3D companies? What do you think? Why do you think that is?
First thing I would say, like Indians are like, I don't know how rightfully can I express, because I didn't face any problem, so I couldn't like say. But first thing I would say, like some Indians are like not having a rightful skill amount that can prove to the visa companies, so they would be thinking like that is the thing. And the second thing, they would think that Indians are like a little bit problematic in their countries. So I think these are the two reasons, if I see from my perspective, would be fine. But until I haven't been gone through any experience of what are the problems can be happened from the visa companies for any Indians to hire in an abroad companies, so I couldn't much define about this thing.
Okay, okay. No, it's very important that we say this, because very often I hear people say to me, no, it's very difficult if you're Indian to go and work abroad. But then also the reality is that very often I look at the portfolios that some guys send me, and I'm like, with no disrespect, but your work is not good enough for me to say I want to invest in you and I want to bring you to Europe for you to work there, you know. And this is without any discrimination. It's just the fact that, you know, myself, I would think if I had a business economically, you know, is it worth it? Is it not? With you, I think it was extremely worth it, because it's, you know, again, you have something that a lot of other people, but not even in Europe, have, you know? And for that, I think you're very lucky. But then again, luck, it's just really a lot of hard work. Now, there is a question. There is a question from Voy. He asked, which course actually changed the way you make renders?
I think courses can be just hand. It's just like an eye to detail and the type of work or the detail you are looking for the images, that is what gonna change you more. Because like whatever the courses you take is just gonna help you with some knowledge, but the whole creating the perspective, the level of detail, what is the type of images you are looking for, the inspiration, I think that is what is going to change the whole perspective of your making images. Because I've seen so many people who have just taken some good courses but still they are not efficient to make some good work, because they're not seeing that whole creative point of how the images has to be done. So I think courses are just a hand, but the main perspective of getting the great images is like seeing, inspiring yourself, seeing the detail, working on every keen of detail of what you are looking for. I think that is what is going to make great images.
I really hope that this answer your question. However, you know, to give a more direct answer to the question, you have done this course with Santi Sanchez, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was online, right?
Yeah, it was on through Skype.
Okay, so you know, Santi, if you're watching this or if you're listening, we are very big fans of you. And probably we also gonna tell him that, you know, we mentioned him on the channel.
Yeah. Hey Santi.
Okay, guys, I just wanna let you know if you have any questions.
Like,
so you did it at the university.
I did it at the university, and then my dad recommended me to do higher studies, but I wasn't interested because I wanted to focus all my energy and.
Oh, hold on. People are saying, hold on. People are saying that the streaming went off. Oh, it's on again. Okay. Sorry, a little interruption. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the internet connection. I apologize.
Yeah.
Mohit, I'm going to ask you again. Sorry. Tell us a little bit about your background. What did you study? Because these are things that, you know, people might be interested in. In case you want to do your career, what were your first steps?
Like, would you mean, to be precise, like, was it like related to ArchViz industry? What if I was into ArchViz industry, you mean?
Yeah, I want you a little bit to tell us about your studies, because very often people think that you need to go to a specific university to learn ArchViz, but actually you don't. You know, you just need to have passion and you need to.
So actually my background is like, I just completed my 12th grade and joined into civil architecture. So it's just basic into like architectural stuff and civil engineering stuff, like how the buildings are made and what is the type of foundation, concrete, and those stuff. So I think like it is not like a additional point, but sometimes some type of architectural knowledge helps you in ArchViz industry, I would say, like understanding the scale of the building, some basic measurements like the feet, meters, at what height the windows has to be. So I think at some point some basic knowledges is much needed, but I don't think for this basic knowledge you need to go to any university or something. So I think just having some basic knowledge and some good with physics and science is going to help much more.
And tell us a little bit about your workflow. Which kind of tools do you use? People are asking, you know, if you're not using V-Ray anymore, what are your tools? What do you use?
Before I used to be like Corona user, but now for me, any tool doesn't matter, because it can be any tool. I can make some great images, because tools are just like additional stuff or a side, but it's the main composition, the perspective, the color, the palette is what it matters, because tools are secondary. Like first I used to be Corona, but even now I use, like I moved at the tomorrow we use V-Ray. So for me V-Ray is like very much like I got used to V-Ray now. So I think for me V-Ray, Corona or F-Strom, it doesn't much matter. So I think you can make images or great images having any tool. But my main tools, like right now, I would say it would be like Max and V-Ray.
Okay, so I think that these answer both question of Tanjamin and Ravindra. because they were asking, you know, if you can still land a job with Arnold instead of V-Ray.
Yeah, I don't think like that's what like I think even Jonas told that the same thing. The tools are just the like the secondary tool is the main like perspective, the color, the whole lighting, the composition, the materiality is what it matters. So tools are just the part of secondary. Like now the tools are just becoming easier, I would say, to make images, but still you have all this thing into the tools, then you make some great images.
And it literally takes 2 days to understand how V-Ray or how Corona works if you have done it in another software already.
Yeah.
So you know it doesn't even take that much time.
Now how it has become is like if you like master one render engine, then it is very easy to learn other render engines, I would say.
There we go. So that's the answer.
Yeah.
Okay, there are a lot of questions coming in. So people are curious curious about how you got your first project, and I'm not sure if they mean like on a freelance basis, because in the beginning you said that you did a little bit of freelancing in the beginning.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to tell us how you landed your first job.
First job, like it was like I think it was online. Like at that time I was doing my university project like in the afternoon after my lunch, and then suddenly like I was doing some basic works and I used to post it on Facebook. Then suddenly there was one architect from Goa and he messaged me that hey Mohit, we have one project, do you want to do like interior renders? And I'm like, sure, let's take it forward. And then we had the conversation for a while to just have a little bit genuinity and how the whole payment procedure takes place and a contract and everything. And then we agreed both with the projects about the pricing and the quality of images, so what I can give at that time. So then he called me to Goa, like just for 2 or 3 days until I finished up the project. And then I went to Goa. He called me up, and then Mohit, because at that time I didn't have any good machines. I used to work on my laptop, so he had some decent machines. So he told me you can come over to Goa, work on my machine. Then I just did that project, and yeah, it was like very satisfying that like my hard work is going some better place.
That's so cool.
It was a great experience. Yeah, because at that time what happened was that at the when I did that project, I went to Goa, and I think in Goa we have beaches, and that is the when I saw the beach for the first time, and everyone were like, "Wow."
You know, I am actually planning to go to India soon with my wife.
Wow.
Yeah, I really I wanted to go since years, but there is a place in specific that I really want to go, which is called Pushkar.
Okay, I think it's in north of India.
Yeah, north in the middle, because I want to go and get a haircut and a head massage from Baba. You know Baba?
Yeah. We have like lot number of bars, but make sure your Baba is good.
I want to go to Baba the Cosmic Barber. That's what I want to do. Anyway, I want to ask you a couple of things. So now you had this incredible start in India, because you were able to start already studying. You had somebody that gave you a job, and then you started to work for Target. And then you got this incredible experience to go to Europe. Now, tell me a little bit what it's like for you to live in Europe. Tell me about your job. I want to know everything. You can start wherever you like.
Like before I was living to Europe, I had like little bit of health issues, like what my family were concerned, because like when I was working at the Target, I suffered from a small tumor. So I had gone into like a small surgery. So my family were very much scared of me going to Europe.
Okay.
But I was like, nothing is going to happen. Let's go to Europe. So I was like little bit nervous when I came to Europe, but then I realized that obviously if you want to move in life, you need to take some big steps. So then after I came to Europe, then I have a like a creative director who handles the Stockholm office, Niels. So he messaged me like, "Hey Mohit, welcome to Europe and Sweden, and even like Andreas and Frederick message." So it was like very much homely feeling, I would say. And then at that night, I had like dinner, and I didn't knew what is the pricing of dinner takes place there, and I paid almost like uh, 300 or 400 crowns. That is like 4 7, like probably 50 euros, I think, for a meal. And I'm like, whoa, how is this super expensive? And I'm like, but yeah, the thing
Mohit,
was like the
hold on.
Swedish was
Mohit,
a
I'm
super
losing you.
different
Mohit,
culture, the
I'm Mohit, I'm
different.
losing you.
It's fine.
Mohit, I'm losing you. Hold on a second. Sorry. So after you talked about the dinner, then I lost you completely.
Okay. So after the dinner I had, it was like I paid like 50 euros, and I'm like, whoa, this is super expensive than India, and it's like 50 times expensive, I would say. But then I was like, let me try some different experience in life. Obviously, when you have like, I made a mind that when you have a when bigger countries have a bigger pay, then obviously things little bit are expensive. Or they're like, even in Dubai, like people are having greater salaries, but even the quality of living is higher, then obviously things are a bit expensive. But it's the same thing with the Sweden. Like the quality of living is high. On the next day, it was like the first day of my job, I would say, from there. Then Niels came, and I was like feeling different. I was like a little bit nervous. Then he came, and then, hey Mohit, welcome to Sweden, and he greeted me. And then I went to my like computer, and he showed me like some basic work. And then slowly I started understanding the whole workflow. Then tomorrow's culture, tomorrow's whole way of pipeline, the work. It was a great experience. So then slowly onwards, I started like getting used to Swedish culture a little bit, looking for new places. Like we have this tomorrow travel every year, like going to like last year, yeah, last year we had been to Italy, like a field trip. So that was also a great experience. And even the art directors were so amazing. So, and I learned a lot of from art directors, like how you can uh, make your images more quality type, and how more like Scandinavian type, because I'm from Indian culture. So we play a lot of it colorful. And at the starting, like I used to make things very colorful, and like my creative director and sometimes art director, like, Mohit, this is not like this. It has to be like different. So that was like, even now I feel that thing very funny. And then I learned how the whole this uh, like the like Scandinavian type of interior, like the white and those kind of standards has to be maintained in the images what we make. So that is how I learned all the stuff. So it was like great experience for me.
Good. Tell us a little bit about the workflow at Tomorrow. How do you guys do things there?
uh, the tomorrow, it's very simple. We go with the clients, make like clients send us the model, and we just clean up the model, and then we just make some camera angles, and when we go send it to the art director and the client, and then we just take out some light references and make the light. And then we just set up the materials, like whatever the client has, like a specific type of materials, we create those shaders. And then we clarify whole of those things, like art director and even the like Andreas and creative directors are involved. So the images are like super precise, I would say. For me, it was very hard at the starting, but then I got used to it, like why the images has to be so quality type. So then then we all the processes are done. Like we then do a final check, and then the whole rendering process takes place. and then we do the post production, and then for that we have like sometimes we do it, sometimes we like
Mohit, I lost you.
the creative director does the post production.
Sorry, Mohit, I lost you.
So it's a pretty
So we stopped at the post production. Who does the post production?
It's we does it, or the creative director does the post production.
Okay, so like like normal,
So,
like it's done normally, you know, that the art director is in charge of everything, that it's that leaves the office and then he goes, okay, and then the art director does also the front facing with the client, right?
Yeah, exactly. Art director and the creative director, he does the front facing with the client, and then even the Andreas and Matthias, they both are the like the co-founders and the founders of CEO. Even they are involved in the client front facing as the quality check of the images before sending it to the client.
Okay, I see. Very nice. And you are working there as a 3D artist?
Yeah, I work as a 3D artist. And sometimes, like when we have a shorter deadlines, then we do the 2D as well.
Okay. Well, I really hope that this answered the question. Okay, I see a lot of questions which are technical questions. In a way, you know, as much as I would like to answer the technical questions, I think that we have a chance here to ask him more personal questions related to this experience, you know, of him coming from India, going to Europe. So probably we could focus on that. But I also invite people from home to kind of chip in and, you know, answer questions of other, you know, followers that are watching this, which maybe, you know, you can answer better than we can, because people are asking about Guthrie HDRI, software, you know, what's better, Cinema 4D, 3ds Max. I think we're gonna keep these questions for maybe later, and even, you know, those who are watching, they can just answer these questions between each other. So I wanna ask you, how often do you go back home?
Actually, I go every once. So we have 5 weeks of vacation, so I utilize the whole 5 weeks of vacation.
Okay,
so it's like once a year in the time of July.
Once a year, okay, so it's not that often. And do you miss home?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I miss home, but when I came now to home, because I adopted to the cleanliness of the Swedish culture, so now it feels like for me like not hygienic, not cleanliness. So I would prefer to stay back in Stockholm now.
Well, you know, it's I feel the same, because I'm from Napoli, which is in the south of Italy, and it's where I'm from, which is a suburb of Napoli. It's not very clean. It's actually really dirty. And every time that I'm in, like, now I'm in Tel Aviv, but I spend a lot of time also in Austria, I'm used to the fact that in Europe everything works and everything is perfect. So when I when I go back home, I'm like, okay, maybe I want to go back, you know?
Yeah. But now with the politically situations in India, a lot of things are been changing now. I would see that, like from the past 3 years, as we have got a new prime minister who is having some bold moves in India, I am thinking forward and looking forward that India is going to change, but let's see how long it takes for the whole India to change. But right now, there is nothing much great change.
Do you dream one day to be able to go back to India, maybe build your own company?
But right now, I didn't ever thought into this thing, because I am like, now I'm getting a lot of interest into politics.
Okay.
So let's see how it goes.
But
I'm very happy at tomorrow. So I think like for a couple of years, like until I'm happy at Stockholm, I would just like to stay at Stockholm itself.
Okay, it makes sense.
But yeah, because I think because I'm always been influenced by the Scandinavian style of making interiors and the Danish style. So that is makes it more for me like influencing. So I think I like Stockholm very much, and so I think I would make a longer stay over there.
Now, one thing that I want to ask you, and it's a good thing because somebody has also asked the question. You also teach, right? You have some students that come to you for to learn 3D, right? Or am I mistaken?
Yeah. No. Sometimes it's not like from outside India. It's I'm trying to help people inside the India who are like passionate, but they're not able to find the right skill set or from whom they can learn, so that they can improve their quality of images as well the standard of living. Because in India, at some places we have poverty. So at that places they're not able to afford the fees or the tools for the not having great computers or not finding the right sources of finding the tools or anything. So at some point I just try to help these people at a very cheap cost, so that they can make their standard of living little bit better, so that they can help their family financially and other ways. So I feel like I'm trying to take this in a better cause for the people of India.
That's very nice, and it's and I think it also answered the question that somebody asked. Hold on, because I'm reading a question. Somebody's asking, I would love if he say something required for an Indian artist in Hindi. Probably somebody wants to hear you speaking in your language. I'm not sure. But anyway, if you want to listen, if you want to listen to Mohit speaking in Indian, just go to his Instagram and watch his live shows, because
I make very funny live shows.
I can tell,
I would just like to say one word to everyone, that Namaste everyone. So sab log ko mera pranam.
There you go. So you heard the man speaking in India also. But what language do you speak?
Actually, I speak like 6 to 7 languages from India local.
Okay.
Like Hindi and Kannada and some amount of Tamil. So it's like a lot of like languages we have in India. So it's like very local languages. But I learned like few words from Swedish as well. So I'm just trying to pick up Swedish.
Do you think it's necessary to speak Swedish in order to live in Sweden?
No, I don't think it's much compulsory. But I think learning Swedish adds up some conversation in a better place, I would say. So I think it's up to people perspective who wants to learn Swedish or who doesn't want. But I feel like learning some new languages helps your brain to grow and learn, so you can have some better conversation with any of the architects or any other normal common people.
You understand the culture also better.
Yeah, but I'm still trying to understand their culture a little bit, but I think their culture is totally different.
Trust me, it's different also for Europeans, it's
yeah. So yeah,
Swedish people are the Swedish people are the nicest people, but in order for you to get to know them, they need to be very, very drunk, because when they're drunk, then they open up and they become friendly.
Then I think I would surely try this trick. But yeah, Swedish people are super nice and good people, I would say.
You will see. I mean, we have a few Scandinavian people coming to the D2 conference, and I lived in Sweden myself for a while. I lived also in Copenhagen for a very short time. I really like it, and I think that there is a very holistic approach to design. Like, design serves always more than one purpose, and there is a much higher understanding of common goods. Like, you know, if there is some services that are shared, people actually respect them and they treat them good. They don't destroy them, you know. If you go to England, if you go to Italy, people destroy everything. It's terrible.
Yes, yes. And the other thing, what I like about Sweden is it's not like related to ArchViz industry, but at some point it has some effect, like the sustainability of the architecture. So they are like very much environmental friendly, I would say. Like they think a lot of about environment. They try to like conserve the environment, which is like I don't find that much of in India. Like in India, I would say like my place is like typically a concrete jungle. It's like very rare to find a great tree here. So in that case, I think so. Like Nordic countries are pretty much very well established in that.
And they are leading the whole world by example, like, you know, a lot of other countries. I think that New York was actually, the town planning of New York was done by a Danish company, because they have seen how cities in Denmark, how well they work. So they had like this company from Copenhagen to redesign all the bicycle lanes, all the open spaces, because it works. You know, it really works. And actually, you know, the funny thing is that now there are a lot of like Indian builders, Indian, you know, developers that are actually buying their designs in Europe because they want to bring that kind of design also to India. Chinese people are doing that as well. You know, it's happening. I think almost everywhere.
Yeah, but the problem with Indian and Chinese market is that clients are not very well able to pay the 3D artists, by which Indians artists at some point they have screwed up the market of ArchViz industry by making renders at very cheap price, because they just think about money at that point, but they don't see how the business of the ArchViz is in the future plans. Like I think you might have seen many people from India doing renders for $50 or $10 or $5.
$5, yes.
Chinese. Yeah. So I think some of the Indians, or the most of the Indians, have to realize that this is not just about making money at that point. It's like how you have to take this making of images to a whole new level of making business. Because, and even obviously having a great skill makes a great images, and these people sometimes don't have some great skills, and they just even not look for great skills, and they just start doing business. Like there are many studios in India that they don't have great skill set, but they just start making business with a very bad images, and at the end eventually they screw up the whole market. Like near my house there is one studio, and it's just like very bad images. Like I feel like they are like scanline renders, and they are like just charging $10 and $50. That's it.
So how do you?
Which...
Continue.
Yeah. So by which the clients are not able to see what is the value of the images and what is the quality of images, because they are more tends toward the cheaper images. Because now when I show some of my images, they are like, whoa, is this 3D? Like I haven't seen this kind of images. If I'd seen this kind of images, I would have surely afforded you. And I'm like, dude, you just like, you wanted to save some money, went somewhere else, and this is what you end up.
That's very important.
Like, I would say, give you some simple example. They are like paying the paying the price of which is the worst car? Can you tell me?
Lada. The Lada car. You know the Lada? That's like a Russian car. Yeah.
So they are like paying. Yeah. So they are paying the price of that Russian car and asking for a Rolls Royce, which is not at all possible.
No, that's actually good that you're saying it, because one of the things that I always ask myself is probably especially when it comes for like Indians working into the European market. Very often I think that Indians, they don't even realize how much money is worth in Europe. Like, you know, when a client is asking for a rendering and they want to pay, say, $50, okay, for one picture. You have said it yourself, in Sweden you were having lunch with 50 euros. So this is the money that you pay for one meal, you know, and the reality of the prices of what it costs to have a to keep a business running. A lot of people, when you talk to them, they say, yeah, but you know, in India life is cheaper. But this is not a good enough excuse to say, okay, then our prices are 50 times cheaper than Europe because, you know, life is cheaper in India. Because eventually you're already putting India into a closed box where we say India will always be poor, we don't care, prices are very low. That's not the mentality that it's going to make you a professional person in the long run. Do you understand what I say? What I mean?
Yeah. But even again, what happens is that because of these people, for me, it is becoming a trouble if I want to do a business, you know. Like now what happens is that many people or the many artists are doing at a so cheaper cost. The whole of the world or the European market or the Australian market, they think now India is a cheaper market. Now, if even I do a business or if I do a freelance for those companies, if they just get to know that I'm an Indian, they would just start bargaining from there, you know. So that is what has happened, and has affected even people who are having a great skill set now. So I'm just trying to bring this up, but let's see how my Indian friends get influenced by this, or it's just never gonna change.
No, I think this is a very important thing that you just said, and I really hope that the message will come across. You know, I really invite people that are watching this from home to share the message. Just write down what you just said and share it amongst every one of you, because you need to understand that, you know, there is a lot of potential and there is a way to get better business going, as long as you want to make it happen.
Yes.
Can I ask you, Mohit, how much does a good computer cost in India? If you want to make renderings, how much do you have to pay for a good workstation, you know, with like a good GPU, good CPUs?
I think for $1,500 you'll get a good machine, or like $1,000 also.
Would you say that it's 3 times cheaper in comparison to Europe to get a good machine in India?
Not 3 times, I would say, but yeah, like hardware is not that cheap, I would say, but it's cheaper, like by 25% is cheaper from the European market. But whereas the applications are pretty much cheap, like the 3ds Max here, it just cost like $1,000 per year. But where I was like checking out in the European market, it's like super expensive. Like I think like in the Germany or Sweden, it's like $2,000 or $3,000 per year, I would say. So I think even the other challenge, what I feel here is that people are too much into piracy as well, like using cracked softwares by which, and now people are trying, even the Autodesk people are trying to give softwares for cheap, but still I don't know, because Autodesk knows the value of the images, but the people are not able to understand the value of the images, by which they end up doing at a very cheaper prices, and then they say that softwares are super expensive, which is not. You just know what your images are value and just invest on the application, but they just don't understand. I don't know why is that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, when I remember in the very beginning when I started to work in an architecture office, we were buying images from India because they were
Yeah.
a lot cheaper than in Europe. At that time, we used to pay for our images $900 per image in India.
Wow. Uh-huh.
That was like 12 years ago, because there was because there were not a lot of people that could do it, and because in Europe you could pay for one rendering 10,000 euros.
Whoa.
But there are still
Obviously,
offices in Europe that charge 10,000 euros for an image. It's not crazy.
yeah.
The problem is that now in India there are people that are charging $5 for rendering.
Yes.
So to the person that charges $5, how much do you need to work in order for you to buy a good computer that costs $2,000 and say a 3D software that costs $1,000? How many images do you have to do? And also, you think that now you can pirate because, you know, everybody pirates. But
Yes.
sooner or later, somebody might come knocking on your door. And you know, I have already heard stories of big offices in India that had pirated software. But since the police was corrupted, they went to these offices and said, show me the license. Now, the company, Autodesk, did not know. But the police knew, so the police took the money. You know, so the company got screwed. Now, you might laugh about this, but sooner or later, this is going to be a very big issue, you know?
Yeah. Even, you know, like Autodesk, ELT, and they are like the 2D applications. It's just like, you know, $100 here for 1 year. Imagine. Even still, they are using the pirated. And I don't know what to say for those people. And recently, like when I was in Stockholm, like 6 months ago, my friend got screwed up by this piracy, and he had to literally as a fine, and still he's using piracy. I don't know why. And even he just corrupted the people, and he just got it done.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that anyway, things will change. You know, it will take a little bit of time. There are some figures like yourself. I think you are a very big inspiration for you know, other Indian artists that are trying to do the same thing. People look up to you, I know, because very often they ask me, could you please interview him? And the reason why we didn't talk, it's because I'm very busy. But now I'm super happy that we made this happen. And
I'm super happy.
And I really, you know, it's I have to say, it was a little bit difficult for me to have this interview because everything that I know about India and about the market there, it's things that I asked people. But you are a lot of people, so there are different realities all over India. So I don't know everything that is happening. And I really hope that in the future I can have a conversation with somebody else, because I want to know more, you know. It's very interesting market to me. And I don't know, I think this was a lot of fun for me. I'm really honored to have had the chance to talk to you.
It's great for me to come with you on live.
We already had 1 hour, so I think we're gonna stop now.
Sure.
I really hope that I get to see you in Vienna. Are you coming to the D2 conference?
Yeah.
Yes?
I will be coming.
So we're gonna take a selfie together.
Definitely.
And I'm gonna stop the stream. Don't go anywhere. Guys, thank you very much for watching this. Please share this video, get the conversation going. I'm really happy that Mohit took the time to do this interview. Mohit, if you want to say goodbye, this is the time.
Yeah. Goodbye, guys. Even goodbye.
Mohit, I'm losing you. I'm losing you. I'm losing you. I cannot hear you. Mohit.
Now?
Yes, now I can. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Goodbye, guys. Goodbye tomorrow, people. Have a happy vacation.
I'm gonna stop the streaming. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. See you next time.